Here's the motor I want to use in my Formula FSAE car to go autocrossing. It's a Buell Blast. It's a 500cc single cylinder, 4-stroke electric start. Needed it for the rules. And originally they're carbureted. I'll do fuel injected using a Mega Squirt, as well as putting my turbocharger on it. Issue with this is it's long. I think most quad engines, the sprockets, no, the whole engine probably stops right here. It's more compact. Right here has the primary drive, so the transmission's way back here where most quads kind of scooted up. I think it's more gear driven on most sport quads. So I want to do this engine because it's air cooled, 500cc, and there's quite a bit of aftermarket products for it as far as camshafts. People change cylinders and the heads to get more performance out of them. But I know this car was big when we first made it, but I think it's not big enough to fit this motor. Just eyeballing, just looking at the transmission case is like 19 inches long. Coming to the chassis, if I put 19 there, maybe I'll even put the one there. It's a little bit of room, so I think the case might be able to fit, but looking at the narrowest part of the rear frame, it's 9 inches wide. You have an idea. I'm looking at this area here. The motor, it's quite a bit more than 9 inches. It's going end of sprocket, outside case is 12-ish. Looking at the frame. Fits the top tube. But again, 12 inches. It won't fit. So, what I gotta do, cut this bottom tube off on both sides, put the motor in, and then make a bent tube around it, and then run some triangulation to support that bend. Or, yeah, probably. I think these motors may have been structural, as in kind of a part of the frame of the bike. I'd have to research that a little bit more. We may be able to tie some of the triangulation into the motor if it fits. It's really tight. I don't even know if I cut those bottom tubes out. I'm not sure if this will even fit. Because, let's see how tall it is. Less than 22. I'll just do 22 just to look at things. So the car sits about an inch off the ground. So it'll come pretty high up to this bar. But that bar, I mean, if you look at, oops, that's why my tools last forever. The distance from that bottom bar here is a big gap. If you look at the motor, it tilts forward. So going from here to there, is a lot, 20 whatever something inches, which we measured the case, just the bottom of the case, and it barely fit in this area here between that bar and the back where the diff mounts. So that means the head of the motor is going to come somewhere right here. There's just no room for the case, I don't think. But I'm going to try iPhone to 3D scan the motor, 3D scan the chassis, or see if I still have a SolidWorks file for the chassis, and see how they fit together, see if there's anything I can do. But thinking that the Blast motor won't work. Other option, Honda, I think it's Honda, whatever the TRXs are, TRX 250 or 300. It's another air-cooled motor. I think they're electric start as well, but a lot more compact, being a quad motor. So I might have to sell that and get a TRX, whatever. See what they are. I don't know a lot about them. See if there's a modern one where I can find parts for them. Yeah, I just want to go air cooled, get rid of the water, because for autocross, haven't done any calculations yet or simulations. I mean, that's the center line of the car. You got a bunch of water and weight way out here. If I can keep everything compact, keep the moments of inertia low, change direction and yaw, I don't know how big of a difference it'll make, but that's just kind of what I want to do. And just simplify it, get rid of the water, get rid of the catch can for the coolant, just have air cooled, more simple. So the Buell Blast 500 definitely isn't going to fit. The head's already hitting the, which is the plane of the seat, driver seating position. And then the back of the transmission just doesn't fit between these bars. I mean, that's the old, one of the tabs for the motor mount, other one here. So, I mean, you could move those tabs off, but it'd still be in the way. This motor mount, I think that's a motor mount, it could come off, but then you still have this, I think it was for the swing arm. You could cut it off, but if you just see how wide the case for the primary is, see, it's way there and way outside there. And then you have the sprocket, which would still be hitting this, so you have to cut this bottom bar off and then put like a bend in it, and unsupported bends are no bueno. Even if you did that, it still wouldn't hit, because the head is going to end up around this area, which would put the back transmission into where the diff goes, and without rebuilding the frame, which I don't want to do because I don't have a jig table, this motor's just not going to fit. The other option would be a Buell, the twin cylinder, which goes, the second cylinder goes somewhere around here in this area. The cases are different, but they're pretty similar. I don't know how much actually swaps over, but if you can see, there's still some room from the front of the case to like this kind of area, get rid of the battery. So if you move all that forward and have this cylinder, instead of pointing that way, maybe it'll fit. So you'd have to buy, I don't know how much a bottom end is for the twin cylinder Buell, but I know people do change the cylinders and the heads. They take them off the twin cylinder and put them on the Buell Blast, this one, the single. So the jug and the head are interchangeable. So basically, you'd buy a bottom end and put the Buell stuff on top of, or the Blast stuff on top of the single cylinder and make a block off plate. I don't know if the crank from this motor would fit into that case, so a little research, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But I know this Blast one's not going to work, which sucks. Anyone need to buy a 500 Buell? Let me know. It'll be on Facebook Marketplace. I've got this app for iPhone. It's just called 3D Scanner app. It'll let you use a couple of different things here, but just playing around with it, you can change the resolution and I guess the range for how close or how far away you are from your object. But just playing around with it. Let you do 3D scans. So yeah, thought it'd be better, but I'm gonna play around with it and see if it'll work for the frame of the car, to see if that Buell motor will fit in it. But I'll keep playing around with this. So I made a scan of the frame and I opened it here in this Mesh Lab program. It's a free software to import some mesh. So you see it's pretty, I don't know if you call that noisy or whatever in 3D scan speak, but I can see some of the frame tubes, which would be enough for setting the motor. With this program, once you make the scan, you can just go in and start deleting any of the mesh that you don't need. So I'm gonna go through, clean it up until I'm left with cleaned up frame where I can really see the tubes and none of the floor and random stuff that was captured here. All right, I imported a old frame that I found in some old emails. It's not the final, the exact frame that was used, but it was the beginning stages. And I import the mesh from the 3D scan, and a lot of it does add, kind of line up, like the seat back angle, some of the tubes, the rear tubes here. So this tube's kind of wonky, but the node from here to here kind of match up. So I think it's just the scan kind of got weird. So I think this frame model will be good enough to try out the motor. So I found this Buell Blast, or not Buell Blast, a Buell XB9R motor. So I made I think they scanned the heads and kind of rough drew the case, but should be pretty close for what I need. But so that's the twin. And if you imagine if we just had this front cylinder, that's kind of what the Blast is. But what I want to do is only run the rear cylinder and see if the crank from the Blast will fit in and run it in this configuration. So I put that motor model into the frame model, and as you can see, it lines up nice with the seat back. Definitely the rear tube, it actually fits now, but still looking at the bottom view, this tube is interfering with the primary case, as well as the sprocket is interfering with this tube. So even though it fits nice every other way, it's still the rear of the frame's too narrow for this motor. And also the sprocket's way offset where I have the diff in the center. And also the diff is set up for a left-hand chain where you can get chains for the Buells, but they're belt. But I mean, to get a belt from here to the diff, it just doesn't line up. So though it fits nicely this way, the motor's just not going to work.